So let's assume that everybody is up to date. Now we're going to talk about converting. I'm going to share my screen with you. So CJ, make sure we update this slide to make that into 2 areas of lead generation. So I've sort of changed the way that I'm presenting this from original. When I first started teaching this, I did say to do 3 areas of lead generation, because for me, I believe that you want to have multiple pillars to be able to find business. However, what I found as I teach this curriculum is that oftentimes it just gets too much for students. And so at the minimum, you want to have a short term and a long term. At a maximum, you would have 2 short terms and 1 long term. That would be sort of an ideal setup for today. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's where you are right now and you've got the 2 short term and 1 long term, rock and roll with it. However, I don't think it's as smart to have 1 short term and 2 long term, or 5 short term and no long term, or what, any other, however else you want to set it up. I don't think that's a smart move. And because if you get much past 3 lead generation strategies, you're not going to be putting the appropriate amount of effort into any of them to be able to produce a result. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. I'm going to assume that is a yes. So most agents that have success in real estate sales do not have a lead generation problem. Instead, they have a lead conversion problem. Finding leads, believe it or not, is relatively easy for some. For others, it's not. What do you guys think the difference in between finding leads being relatively easy for some and finding leads being relatively challenging for some? What do you think the difference between those 2 types of individuals? What do you think it is?
Not putting enough effort.
Not putting enough effort.
Yeah, because I told myself I need to talk to 10 people a day, 10 new people a day. And once I started doing that, my business has really evolved, right? If I talk to 3 people on Facebook, 3 people on Bigger Pockets, and then I pick up the phone and call 3 rent-to-own people, and they actually answer, things have definitely changed.
Okay. So what I hear Johnny saying is really the difference between making a finding business to be easy or not is just simply, are you doing the activity or not? Would you say that that's true, Johnny?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's been my experience as well. Just not only my experience personally, but also my experience of coaching others. Those that take the action, it's not hard. It really is not hard to find business. Those that don't take the action convince themselves that it is hard. What do you guys think about that before we move on? I'd love to have some feedback. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think that I certainly agree with that. I mean, it's like
John, just 1 second. 1 second, John, please. Lanita, I see that you were talking. We could not hear you, so I'm going to get back to you here in a second. I don't want you to think anybody's ignoring you. Yeah, okay. I saw you were talking, but your microphone may not be on. John, go ahead. Excuse me.
No, I definitely would agree with that. I mean, it's about kind of the energy and effort that I need to put forth. And I think that'll kind of help to motivate me and to create additional energy to continue making the calls, continue doing the open houses, continue to do the client appreciation events. And if I continue to think about it and sit and stew about it, then it's just going to become a task and it's going to be difficult to do.
Fantastic. Hey. Hello, Efren.
John, hey, what's going on, guys?
Hello. Can you mute yourself, please? And thank you.
I will. I just signed on. My bad.
My bad. No worries. John, I would agree with that assessment. If John was your boss, John or Johnny, doesn't matter. All right. And so John was your boss, and all right, Johnny's the boss. Sorry, Johnny. Excuse me. He got a little uptight there for a second. And you went, you applied, and John said to you, all right, here's your job, and I'm going to pay you $150,000 a year. Your job is to have 10 conversations a day. Would that be a job that you would feel as though if you're making an equitable trade in regards to the compensation that John's offering you versus the activity he's asking you to do?
I would do it.
That's crazy the way that you just kind of put that. That's crazy.
And it's exactly what it is, though, right? It is
Right, that's
exactly what
crazy.
it is. Is to have 10 conversations and watch your business change. And as soon as I did that, for example, right now, I talked to one guy on Bigger Pockets, right? One guy out of my 3 that I wanted to talk to. Well, this was in January. He has come back and said, I wanted to buy a 200K house, 200K condo here, a 400K condo or a 400K house in Richmond. And then I just pulled a comp on him for him on a house that has been abandoned in his neighborhood. And I just got the lawyer to call me and say, yes, it's abandoned. I have the keys. This is, I'm going to give you a call at 4 p.m. and we're going to talk on how to do a short sale to get this. One person, 3 sales potentially off of 1 phone call. Now multiply that by 10 and see what you can get. But you actually have to have, what's it called? A connection, right? I make hundreds of calls, but I only get, or hundreds of calls, emails, texts, but only 10 conversations.
Yeah.
My goal is 10 true conversations.
Yeah, and that's why I'm careful when I communicate it to say conversations. That's what I want you to hear is conversations. I don't want you to hear calls. I used to say calls and thinking that I was saying conversations. I realized that sometimes people hear that differently. Let's go back to John being the employer, John Turner. And he asked for you to have 10 conversations, and he's going to pay, 5 days a week, and he's going to pay you $150,000. Do you believe that maybe John is not a very smart employer and might be actually overpaying you? That's hypothetical, by the way. So sorry, John. Right, that's a hypothetical there. Right? Does anybody here believe like if John made that offer to you, you'd be like, dude, it's like that's crazy. Why would he pay me that much money to do that? Does anybody else feel that way?
Yeah, that's why when you said that, I said that's crazy, but it's crazy. It's
It depends on what he's
Well,
talking about. That's fine.
I'm sorry, what's that, Frank?
I said it depends on what he's doing. If he's selling something, I would say probably maybe not. 150 is not out the question.
All right, but that's not what I asked. All I asked was if John said to you to have 10 conversations today, and I want you to do that every single day, and I'll pay you $150,000. That's all I did. No other qualifiers. Do you think that you're being paid appropriately, too much, or not enough?
Too much for that. So yeah, just that.
Too much for that. Okay. All right. So now it goes into, because Frank, what I just heard you say respectfully is qualifying, or actually disqualifying in this case. Because now it's sitting there saying, well, but if he's asking me to do this or that, then it may or may not make sense. But all he's asking you to do is have 10 conversations. That's it. Now, your relationship with that conversation, that's up to you. That makes sense to you guys? So if you haven't gotten to the place already where you are comfortable with the fact that your job is to have those 10 conversations a day, or 5 conversations, or 20 conversations, yet I think 10's a good number. Let's just work with 10. When I started in my business, I did 20. And I did 20 for many, many, many years. And I probably still do an average of 100 a week, to be candid with you. I just don't do them in 20 a day. Some days I'll do many, many more. And some days, maybe 3 or 4 today. I don't know. Does this count as conversations? Probably not, because I'm providing a service, right? The conversations I had before this would probably count as a conversation, right? So today it gets into my place where it's hard for me to say, is that even a conversation? If I'm a B&I networking mixer and I promote myself to 50 people, was that 50 conversations? I don't think so. Yet, did I connect with 50 people? Maybe, right? You know, I mean, depending if they're paying attention or not, and if I was persuasive or not. So let's move on. So that's, I just really want to make certain that we've got the lead generation piece handled, because without the lead generation piece, moving forward, it's going to be sort of a midpoint. The very top performers in the industry realize that the platinum, the real platinum is in the lead follow-up, not the lead conversion. But once you realize that it's relatively easy to find opportunities. So for example, if in the next month you stuck to the 10 a day and you did that 5 days a week, that would be 200 conversations this month. I would find it hard to believe that you would get less than one piece of business from that. Would you guys agree with that? And one would be less than a 1% return, a half of a percent, 0.05%, or actually 0.005%. Half of a percent would be 1 out of 200. 0.005 would be the decimal. I know math. It's okay. Leave me alone. All right. So the very top performers understand that it's in the follow-up. The other thing that the top performers realize and recognize is that while lead generation looks like something that happens in an instant, that's not quite true. What is true is that it happens through a series of events. Those series of events cannot always be easy to identify which series of events will create a result and which series of events will not, or even what result they will create. We'll use Johnny as an example. Where he is right now is that one conversation generated 3 potential pieces of business, yet we don't know if there's anything past that.